fiscal presence. Normally, when when you have money, you can decide to do other things. You understand? Because all you can do is some transfers, and that can speak volumes for you. But he's shown commitment. So, Patrick, I'm grateful. I mean, he's one of our senior most chief directors, and the support has been phenomenal. So, Patrick, we appreciate you. Adakrugu needs no mention. Just across the street, we show your presence. The acting chief director of Sports and Recreation Party, you are welcome. Let's see you. Sports and Recreation. Chair, the civil council, the civil service, along with the chief directors, we have more chief directors now than ever before, among the chief directors. My own chief director, I need to recognize you before you go home and mismanage me. So I recognize him. I do recognize heads of our various institutions, our panelists, our directors. Of course, the director of planning, I recognize Che, Poku Che, my own classmate, Legon, who has been very, very useful in supporting our quiz competition, single-handed. What actually was meant to be a very short visit to my office opened some vistas of opportunities for us, and it's growing in leaps. It's growing in leaps and bounds. ETV, so technical age. I hope no damages, breakages and damages are payable, we're told. Sorry about that. So, Chair, we recognize you for the support. And Chair, can you imagine yesterday, the winner of the quiz competition took home a laptop plus other things? Yes, that's the first time it's happening. And others were getting, tablets and others and cash prizes and so on. The only thing is that I don't think the panelists or the contestant, we can account for the money this morning. Because the way people were hurry up, when they are picking, I said that these people, they will spend the money before tomorrow morning. But it's good. So when you have the network, let's use the network, for the benefit of all of us. So heads of this was one of the finest that we've ever had, one of the best since the rebirth of the Civil Service Week in 2019. Very stimulating, intellectually stimulating. You saw the synergy between men of action and men of thought, and how that synergy will enhance the work that we do. The presenter, was very, very candid, and it means no words. Some major takeaways will be that we need to mend our ways and repent. Possibly from our old bad ways, in order to put us on a path to sustainable development. Is that not it? It's doable. Is it not doable? It's doable. You saw the okra and that the ministry gave us. I have a backyard garden here in Cantonment, and I harvest plantain like any part. So anywhere you grow something, so we cannot be hungry, for instance, in this country. So this means that the quality of our work has a direct effect on the lives of our people, and that's something that my good friend Bokin related to yesterday. Now, if our systems are slow, if citizens feel it, if systems are slow, they feel it. If our processes are difficult, citizens experience it. So the bureaucracy facilitates work. And Chairman was telling me the last time that, yes, there's no better system, even though it's not the best, it's still the best that we have, because we haven't evolved any other system yet. But it's supposed to facilitate administration. It's supposed to ensure precision, knowledge of the files, speed, precision. Every office under the control and supervision of a higher one. We are talking about hierarchical conformation, calculable rules, among others. Legal, rational authority that will bring dividend to you and I. So we should deal with the bottleneck. You see the neck of a bottle. So the neck of a bottle is what we call the bottleneck. You see, this place is very small, right? So the bottleneck means that you can't pour all the water at once. So the bottleneck is what we want to deal with. Anything that will undermine the process, we call it the bottleneck. And so I always tell people that it's not the bureaucracy that is bad, but the bottlenecks, if you put in, those things. So we need to strengthen coordination among our institutions and reduce delays in the delivery of public services. We must also be open to new ideas and new ways of working, hence the relevance of today's dialogue. I'm confident that our moderator, the moderator is, she has survived several world wars, and it's an institution in her own right. And so I know that the moderator and the discussant will provide valuable insight once again into the three main topics for today's dialogue, which are as follows. The topics have been carefully selected, Chair, that advancing human capital and institutional excellence for sustainable development. Very, very, this is almost like a PhD topic. You understand? Human capital. So the training we are giving you is not for, the catwalk. I hope you understand. It's not for window dressing and catwalk and cosmetic arrangement. But the training must have impact on what is it that you do. Because all things being equal, the better the training of people, the better their performance. So we are looking at how that capacity, enhancing the human capital. If you look at the human capital theory, it will discuss that, and institutional excellence, and how the two will deal with sustainable development. That's the first one. Chair, we are also looking at how we are driving innovation. Because if we are dealing with a complex world, we are dealing with very sophisticated clients, we are dealing with complex problems, we are dealing with wicked problems. And wicked problems in public administration, problems that defy simple definitions, simple solutions, and which will require multi-sectorial, approach and so on. Then it means that we need to innovate. So driving innovation, artificial intelligence, digital transformation, and technology for national development. This is something that is also in vogue. So AI, Internet of Things, and other things, machine issues, and so on. Then, of course, we are looking at operationalizing the resetting agenda. So the resetting agenda should not just be utopian, idealistic, building castles in the air. Yesterday, Dr. Neem Noy Thompson related to what we call bounded rationality. So those of you who read public administration, if we are looking at a rational, comprehensive approach, some of the downside is that there's a limit to rationality. No matter how capable you are dealing with time, you are dealing with resources and all of that. So we are rational, yes, but our rationality is bounded. We are constrained by time, by resources, by efforts, and so on. And so we are looking at operationalizing the resetting agenda, civil service action, perspectives and cross-cutting responsibilities. Almost like a rehash of the theme, but we've hived off a settlement to look at how we can reconfigure, giving much more potent, attack so that you and I can appreciate what our specific responsibilities are. So you realize that the theme, the topics have been carefully crafted to give vent to the theme that we have selected, to throw more light on the theme that we have selected, so that we leave this place and those of us on the virtual space would appreciate what our key responsibilities are. Somebody said, but we know our duties. We go to church every Sunday, is that not it? But we are organized, we are asked to be part of fellowship, we are joining your year group, whatever, and all of that, just so that we can continue to do the good things and so that the polarization will be there. So let me just quickly finish. Now, as we begin today's discussions, I encourage everyone to once again to participate fully. Let us speak openly, share practical ideas, and look for solutions, solutions that can be applied in our institutions. I would like to thank the moderator in advance and all the three discussants for accepting the invitation to be part of this important program. We look forward to learning from their knowledge, experience, and different perspectives. Different perspectives are important because sometimes you are not prepared to listen to other perspectives. You cannot shape your own perspective. So it's important you listen to others. So in closing, I encourage all of us to see this year's theme as a call to action. And let us all reposition ourselves to do the right things. And I'm sure that we'll embrace new ideas and remain committed to serving our service and serving our country as a matter of consequence. Because we have a service to serve, we have a nation to build, a nation also to serve. Somebody said consequence, somebody said consequence. Together we can build a civil service that is more effective, responsive, agile, adaptive, so we can anchor the development. So I wish all of us meaningful and fruitful dialogue. Thank you very much for enduring me. Thank you.
Oh, please put your hands together for Doc one more time. Anytime he speaks, he sounds philosophical. He says that better the training of the people, better their performance. But then the training are not for catwalks nor for cosmetics, but they are for outcomes that impact on our work and impact on our society. Please, let's put our hands together for this thought-provoking statement. Doc has helped me by introducing all those that I missed, so I would not go back to mention them. But let me single out Mr. Peter Chei Nimo, who is the head of individual distribution of Star Life Assurance, one of our major sponsors. Let's also acknowledge Ministry of Finance. They are also part of our sponsors and also participants. CLOSAC Band, CLOSAC as a union, and Clock TV. Please, let's put our hands together loudly. Because as we speak, the program is being, it's on air, both on Clock TV and on all our social media handles. Let's also acknowledge Promasidor and also Verna Water. Please put our hands together for these two companies. Soka Loka, they are also part of our sponsors, as well as Boss Energy, Ghana National Petroleum Commission, National Sports Authority, Star Life Assurance. Please, a round of applause for all our sponsors. Back to action, and I would humbly invite to the stage one of our distinguished discussants from the 24-hour Economy Secretariat in the person of Dr. Ishmael Ni Amano Ado. He is the Director and Head of Innovative Finance, Partnerships and Markets. Dodu, yeah, Dr. Ishmael Ni Amano Dodu, yeah. So please, Doc, you're welcome. We also have Mr. Inusa Shirazu, Director, PPBMED, Ministry of Education. Please, a round of applause for him. Then one of our own. I don't think she needs introduction because she's Director of Training. So once you come into contact with him, you acquire knowledge. Dr. Elizabeth Obeng Yeboah. You sit right in front of your photo. Madam? Yeah, right in front of, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are most privileged to have our facilitator who is the member of the Civil Service Council in the person of Dr. Esther Ofei Abuaji. Please, a thunderous applause for her as I hand over the microphone to her to take charge of the rest of the proceedings for the day. Please continue clapping until she gets to her seats. Yes, she has survived many world wars. But how many world wars have we had?
Thank you very much, our very able Master of Ceremonies, who has set the pace for what promises to be an auspicious engagement. The Chairman of the Civil Service Council, members of the Civil Service Council, Chief Directors present, Directors, Heads of Departments, members of CLOCSAC, I think I should cut it short at that. Distinguished invited guests from all over. My panelists, formidable panel. The delectable CLOCSAC band, and then media professionals here present. Ladies and gentlemen, please assume all protocols observed. I want to say this. The head of service has set in motion the process. The past 2 days, there's been a decentralization dialogue. He was there on Monday, and one of the chief executives said he wants to exchange places with Mr. Jonu. He'll pay to be his chief director for 1 week, just 1 week, so that he can learn and work from the head of service. So we are indeed, as a nation, very privileged to have you, sir, in this capacity. You are both a man of action and a man of thought, and we can't have it better than that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I must say that it's an honor and a delight to be here. As a student of public administration for almost 4 decades, I think this is one of the highest high points of my career, being able to facilitate a policy dialogue. You know, the head of service was talking about yesterday's lecture and how good it was. But for me, today is a practitioner's forum. In fact, one of my biggest dreams is just to say, head of service, assemble your practitioners. I mean, the formidable men and women who've been your chief directors and who are your chief directors and practitioners throughout the system to just talk policy, talk about Ghana, and talk about how we're doing this. So the beauty of today's meeting is that it's practitioners who are going to talk. I am of the conviction that the essence of dialogue and reflection by civil servants and public servants for the work they do cannot be underestimated. Any reasoning, sensible person or entity looking at its resilience and sustainability knows when they are ill or when there's something lacking before they even go out to go and find resources. So I believe that reform and resetting in the civil service can begin from within, that we are capable of desiring reform, identifying and diagnosing reform, and enabling our own resetting. So this meeting is extremely important as we gather to reflect on the civil service responsibilities in resetting Ghana's agenda for sustainable development. The purpose today is not only to deliberate, but also to inspire action. We want to ensure that our institutions remain resilient and innovative. And like you said, sir, our sub-themes are human capital and institutional excellence, and innovation through artificial intelligence and digital transformation. And then finally, operationalizing the resetting agenda, but the civil services actions, prospects, and cross-cutting responsibilities. And the cross-cutting principles that sustain progress include good governance, accountability, ethical leadership, staff well-being, and client responsiveness. They are not abstracts. They are daily practices that build trust and deliver results. Now, even though the versatile and the resourceful Master of Ceremonies has introduced my panelists, I am in awe of this panel and what they are able to do and what they are going to do. On my extreme right is Mr. Inus Ashirazu. Inus and I go back a very long way. Director PPB MED of Ministry of Education. I know him for what he's done in local government, what he knows, what he understands, how he can interrogate a policy, point out the weaknesses, the strengths, and everything. Say, proud of you, and I'm happy to welcome you to this podium. Yes, indeed. Elizabeth, too, is one of my own. Dr. Elizabeth Obenye-Boa. I think, as the MC said, Recruitment, Training, and Development Directorate. She too, she has come a very long way. I'm very proud of her also, her ethos, her ethics, and even her commitment to developing others and developing herself, a role model of no mean repute. Elizabeth, you are welcome to this podium. I don't have the pleasure of knowing Dr. Ishmael Ni Amano Dodu very well, but I took a sneak peek about him on Google and a few other places, and the fact that, you know, he's done important things in important places. He has, I believe you've worked in Rwanda, and you know, many exciting things that he has done. I invite you to Google him, but suffice to say that he's the head of innovative finance, partnerships, and markets of the 24-hour economy. I mean, anybody who is head of innovative finance, who understands the role of partnership and is helping to drive a critical government policy like the 24-hour economy. And it is not all about markets. It's a multifaceted initiative designed to drive and reset our whole approach to how we do business in Ghana and sustain and remain resilient as a nation. Can be no man person. Doc, you are very welcome. I dare not call you Ishmael. I'll call you Doc so that we do that. So we will get right down to business. As I said, I'm also a student of public administration, So I'm deeply interested in all of this. The topic, or the theme, the researching agenda for sustainable development in Ghana, the responsibilities of the civil service. I'm going to give each one of you a minute or two to reflect on what it means to you, from your perspective. Sir, I want to start with you. What does the topic mean to you? So many years of civil service work, different capacities. What does the topic mean?
Good morning, Dr. Moderator. Good morning.
Good morning.
Chair of the Civil Service Council and members of the Civil Service Council, Head of Civil Service, Chief Directors from the various ministries, my colleague directors, all protocols observed. Moderator, permission to acknowledge particularly my Chief Director, Mrs. Lydia Esua, Minister of Education. Okay, thank you. So this year's theme, the resetting agenda for sustainable development, a civil service responsibility. For me, it is imperative. The civil service, I consider it to be the wheels that ensures the continuity of governance. So if you are to consider a quick glance at the Presidential Transition Act, it provides for certain offices that will automatically come to an end. And significantly, the civil service is not one of it. And if we define governance as a continuous process, then there should be something within the entirety of the government structure that will ensure that even as certain components or parts of government comes to an end, resulting from general elections or other events or public choices, then it is important that we maintain a certain system within this whole component to ensure that the continuity continues. And that is where the civil service is very significant. And to have a government that campaign, they went to the people of Ghana and they campaign on the philosophy or the vision of resetting, it is obvious that the civil service should be responsible in ensuring that the commitment, the pledges, and the promises made to the people of the country in the run-up to the December 2024 election is fulfilled. And Dr. Moderator, the Civil Service Act 327, in fact, section 4 is quite categorical in terms of our functions. And if you to deliver those kind of functions in terms of policy, in terms of research, programming, and all those things, and then we are not able to articulate very well the vision of the government in place, then it calls to question our commitment to the government of the day. So this theme, for me, it is very important. We couldn't have, selected a better team, especially at this time. And also, by the fact of what we listened to since the beginning of this celebration, notably yesterday, we've got a system that we need to do a self-retrospection. So it is not just about government resetting Ghana. We, civil servants, we have to do a self-retrospection and also conduct our own resetting so that we'll be able to shape up our system, recalibrate our structures to ensure that we deliver on the commitment of the government. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you. Right. Elizabeth, you heard in NUTSA that transition should not affect the civil service. We should ensure continuity, be able to articulate and bring to fruition the vows and the promises of the government of the day and the need for self-retrospection. What's your take?
Thank you very much, Dr. Esther Ofe. And, Auntie Esther. I'm very comfortable with that. Thank you very much. So the council chair, head of service, council members, chief directors, colleagues. Right. So until now, I'll probably start with telling you a little story, just in a brief. So every year, when I, fortunately, or how should I even say? I have been a member of the planning committee since we started, or since we gave birth to the civil service annual the civil service week, and then the awards and all that. And every year, as we start the preparation of what we have to do and all that, we think through the theme, and then we throw our minds back to what the government of the day is actually aiming to achieve within the period. And so every year what we have done is that we take what the government is seeking to do, and then we try to count something around it, because of the fact that as civil service institution, or our civil service staff, we are the backbone of the government of the day. And so when the government is seeking to reset, who are we to say you will sit aloof? And so this year, as we were discussing, immediately what came to mind is the resetting. And obviously we didn't bring in the 24-hour economy, but embedded in there is we trying our best to see how we can to ensure that we also support the government in the implementation of all the policies and the programs that it seeks to. So yes, as civil service staff, and per our mandate, we are supposed to, and we are supporting. And so this, the theme that we have selected, and with this discussion, we are saying that, yes, we have been performing, we have been doing a lot. And so it's something that, okay, so we can also, showcase to tell everybody, to tell the government, to tell the public out there that, yes, it's something that we are doing, and we are ready to, collaborate, we are ready to learn, we are ready to do more from yesterday's lecture. We are ready to repent so that we can even do better from what we are already doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Look, they are ready to repent. They are ready to do more. And they are ready to do differently, do introspection. What do you make of it? I'm not suggesting you are an outsider to the system, but you are in a position to take a bit of a back seat, a less involved position on it. Can you guide us?
Thank you very much, Auntie Esther, and good morning to all of you. I would like to pay my utmost respect to the council chair and the council members, my big brother, most intellectual, intelligence stimulating head of civil service, and all of you. What do I think about the theme? For someone who has grown up at the core of the Ododojojo constituency, growing up in the place called Adenpo, Amomo, for those who know the Gang community. And I went to a public school and was taught English and maths in my local language, so I'll be able to understand it. And I have to go to Makola Market, Kwasi Adraso, Katamanton, to sell, to be able to raise my fees. And I did that even to university level. Growing up in a place where all my friends that I played with, and I love football, they went to private school and I went to public school, and they would laugh at me when I can't pronounce the H. So when I say heart, I say art. So I grew up in that context. And my late father actually played football to build a national stadium and he won African Cup twice for Ghana. Ufe Dodu, Little Bird, they call him. And so I've seen, and in my house, all my siblings were my aunties and people that I really respect have worked in the civil service. So I've seen the transformative power of the civil service in building a nation, in taking somebody like me from where, with all due respect, people wouldn't have expected that somebody like me would come out of that, to have spent 20 years with the United Nations and serve Secretary General Ban Ki-moon as one of his key special assistant advisors at that level, and worked in over 35 African countries and other countries in the world. And now I am here working to build this nation. At the core of Reset is our ability to go back to our glorious past as a country. And I'll tell you this story. I had a privilege, a very rare privilege, to spend almost 2 hours with His Excellency the President, 2023, during elections. And it was at that point where we were discussing what the Reset agenda is. And I've never told this story before. And asked him what actually gets him waking up at night and thinking, and what is his motivation for really wanting to come back and lead this nation. And he paused for 10 seconds to answer this question, because he wasn't expecting it. And we're in Virginia, so out of Accra, out of Ghana, and in a program where he had time and he could actually be himself and talk. And I was just making my transition from the United Nations, and I was at the board of thinking whether I should help in this country. So he told me that when he sees what Ghana used to be at the time when he was growing up in independence, and he sees our potential and where we are today, he feels that he has an utmost responsibility to help to push us to that point. And he recalled some of the wonderful things that Ghana used to stand for as it was growing up. Over 300 factories, and that we produce everything for ourselves. Our human capital is one of the strongest. In the Committee of Nations, we are the most respectable individuals. In the formation of the Security Councils and many other things, that Ghana had been very strong and instrumental in driving global development and partnerships. And when he looks at today, where when they list countries of excellence, we are not in that position again, then he started asking himself, how can we go back to the glorious past? And therefore, what I just did was put off the light and put it on. And I said, well, that is the reset. So that's how the reset thinking is about. So in reset, what we are talking about is building a resilient nation that is able to drive the courses of our national development in ways that transforms this nation as one of the most powerful forces within African continent. And basing this transformation process on all the things that make Ghana what it is, our natural resources, our human capital, and everything in between. Our ability to really think about how we can build things with our hands and find the products of Ghana, made in Ghana product, expressed in various countries in the world. And Ghana being known for what we produce and what we are able to turn around that can advance the course of civilization. That is the research agenda. And so the entire research is constructed around a number of reforms. Our infrastructure reform and ensuring that our infrastructure deficit, we deal with it. That's the big push. The economic transformation agenda, that's the 24-hour economy. And also some of the fiscal reforms that Minister of Finance put in place to win us out of IMF to stabilize the economy so we can now have the presence of mind to leverage this stabilization for transformation. And then the Feed Ghana program that deals with our food security issue and so on. So all these initiatives encaptured the true essence of the reset. And we must always look at the reset in totality of all these initiatives. It must not be thought of in isolation, which means that the backbone of nation building, which is civil service, in all its character and essence, must be the driving force of that in terms of thought leadership, stimulation of thought leadership, in terms of the real policies and normative principles that you need to develop across the civil service to anchor this vision. And then in terms of how to ensure there's policy coherence and sustainability to drive us to that destination we are looking at. So it is really, I would say for me, it's bringing us back to the real essence of our calling as civil servants. And we must really look at the reset agenda as one of the most opportunistic moments we have now to build the nation that we actually want and can be proud of. It's my initial thought.
Thank you very much. Give them a warm round of applause. Setting the agenda, Dr. Obenye tells us that we cannot sit aloof from the reset agenda, the opportunity to showcase what we have and also see what we can achieve through collaboration. Again, looking back at what Ghana, all the potential Ghana had, what Ghana could have been, what Ghana ought to be, and how we're going to push ourselves to the point where we ought to be, including our position on the international front. And then also, again, basing our transformation on what we have, natural as well as human resources, so that our products stand out the world over. And again, we also achieve this through a number of reforms, infrastructural, economic, Feed Ghana program. But alongside this, to stimulate thought leadership, achieve policy coherence and sustainability. That's what I'm hearing. And I smiled because I was having a debate with my siblings this morning. My brother had outlined all the Ghanaians who were playing football in the big league nation, of Ghanaian origin. So I counted that we are also in the news for all the wrong reasons, including Cambridge. Enough said. So basically, Elizabeth, against this effort and knowing all of this, from your view, what have been some of the concrete steps that the civil service has taken, so far to operationalize this global agenda? What are some of the concrete?
Thank you very much, Antista. And pardon me if I have to be looking into my notes, because then as I was processing the, I realized that if I don't put it down, I'll forget some. So I had to, so that I can capture all for the public to know all that we are doing in terms of supporting in the area of the resetting agenda. And we are seeking to also doing more. So in terms of what we are doing, to start off, before anyone can do anything, there has to be a plan. All right. So right from the beginning of this year, there was a call on all ministries and departments to realign all their institutional plans with the national priority, and in this case, as the topic as we are discussing. And so we've had this in place, and linked to that is, we strengthening our performance management system, as you probably might be aware. We have a very robust system if I'm not afraid to say so, but I would say that probably in Africa, we have a very robust one. And so what it is that there has been a review of performance agreements, the head of service signed performance agreements with the chief directors, The chief directors as well sign agreements with directors and heads of department, and it trickles down to even the cleaner who does the work for the officers to sit. And so from the planning, then it cascades into what it's put in the agreement, because it is what your institution plan, that is what you have to put in your agreement to ensure that you are monitoring and making sure the right things are done. In doing this, we are also seeking to promote evidence-based decision making. We are also accelerating digital transformation, and in doing this, there are so many things that we have done in terms of digitalizing the work that we do. Years ago, we started with e-recruitment, for instance, and then we roped in e-promotions. In recent times, we have roped in retraining, because you realize that, the world is moving very, very fast, and we have to also move with it. We also have online public services in the civil service, and we're talking about ministries and departments. We can talk about what Passport Office in recent times has done, the Registrar General's department, and so many other departments that are into real-time implementation of activities to the public. We have also embarked on a lot of virtual collaboration in terms of, for instance, we have officers that exit and go to school, and when they come back, we give them a certain platform, and this is electronic. We don't do in person. It's an electronic platform that we grant to these officers so that they can share knowledge. We have meetings that are done in this direction as well. In terms of building human capital, I can't say that we have done so much, and we are seeking also to do more. We have, for instance, in terms of leadership development, we onboard our chief directors when they are, appointed as chief directors. We take them through a whole lot of training. Our directors and then some deputy directors also go through some training. We're talking about leadership development, so the target is at that level. We take them to GIMPA for some management training and what have you. In recent times, we have even introduced talent management program. We have identified officers within the civil service that are doing so well, and so we are grooming them and making sure that they go into their various institutions to impact at that level. We are also encouraging continuous learning in terms of the human capital, continuous professional learning. And in this, we have an onboarding and mentorship policy that it's being implemented. And across the civil service, ministries, department, we are making sure that officers that are moved from one ministry to the other, we see them as new officers and so have to be onboarded so that all the things that they need to know, they know them very well and they are able to do as expected. In terms of digital skills, we are also doing so well in that direction. In just about a month ago, we collaborated with the Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation with the sponsorship from EU and then UNESCO, to train about over 200 of our officers. This is a training that we undertook. So they go back into their various ministries to train others. And they train them mainly on AI. AI is the order of the day. And so that is what we in all these, we know our leaders will have to exit at a point of one day. And so what we are planning to do, we already have a succession plan in one of our documents that we use as a service, but we are seeking to develop a proper policy that will encourage all other ministries and departments to ensure that there is a proper succession planning in that direction. Quickly, Auntie Esther, I just want to add one or two and then say that We continue to encourage interministerial collaboration. All right, so in this, we are encouraging technical working groups. I can't say that I'm an example of one of the technical working groups that the Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy, and Religious Affairs, the DPACT program that we are embarking. I am a technical working group member, so we encourage, interministerial collaboration. This is just by one example that I can give. We know that, for instance, when it comes to joint implementation committees and all that, when it comes to issues that concerns the country, we know that Ministry of Employment, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Lands, Food and Agriculture, when it comes to the Galamsey, for instance, we know that there is that interministerial collaboration to ensure that the issues of Galamsey and the land issues and all that are being handled. I'll say a very quick one in terms of the 24-hour economy. About beginning, I think the first quarter of the year, we have Doc here working with us, and there was a meeting between the secretariats. The chief directors were sensitized, as it were. So the whole idea was for them to go back as they are planning, as they are developing their performance agreements or all that, for them to have it in there. Because once you have it in the plan, then you are sure of doing what it is that you have put in there. So in brief, these are about a few things that we are doing, but there are more that we are doing to ensure that there is certain agenda. It's something that we can make sure that we as the supporters, or we as people that are backing the government, we are doing all that we have to do to ensure its implementation.
Fantastic. In fact, I think you deserve a warm round of applause. But having said this, Lisa, having listened to Doc and having listened to Dr. Elizabeth, the critical question I'm asking myself is, what more do we need to do to be able to respond, to be up and doing, to be able to deliver, to be able to reach the standards that Doc was describing as the civil service? In short, what institutional reform are necessary for excellence and responsiveness? What strengthening do we require? As somebody who's been in the system a long way, who's been thinking about the system a long time, what must we do different? It's a good question, or it's too hard?
Head of service remarked earlier that this is a PhD question. But of course, with practice, it's something that we'll be able to respond. So before I respond to the substantive question, permit me to remark on the planning, and then I will pivot from that. Doctor mentioned it. So pursuant to Article 36(5) of the Constitution, the government issued the Coordinated Program for Economic Development, and I should acknowledge Director General NDPC here. And by the guidelines of the NDPC, ministries are supposed to, be guided in designing their medium-term plan. And I'm pretty sure all ministries have complied, and we have our sector medium-term plans. And in doing so, I think Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, precisely Chapter 2 of these medium-term plans, and indeed, the Coordinated Program for Economic Development does some situational analysis. And this is where I want to start from. So in doing something different, how are we able to diagnose our system? Indeed, in public policy discourse, there are two theoretical frameworks. The first one, and of course, it happens to be the classical perspective, that is the institutional theory. the institutional theory, when it comes to public policy design, holds that what the product of policy or what we set as our policy agenda is defined by institutional norms, is defined by practices, and is defined by political agendas or manifesto. And that's why I described that has been the classical. And so you will find from the mid-1990s, 1997 to be precise, when we put together the Agenda 2020 and fast forward, Vision 2020, thank you. Vision 2020 and fast forward under President Kufuor's GPR, Ghana Poverty Reduction Strategy, and then Ghana Shared Growth Opportunities Agenda under Professor Mills, and fast forward. Yes, and fast forward. So you see that these national policy frameworks has been driven largely by these institutional theories, the political commitments, the norms. Now, the second perspective or theoretical framework is what I describe as the evidence-based policy-making theory. And for this school, they believe that public policy should hinge on evidence, data. And for me, to move forward as a nation in terms of our policy design and implementation, we should see as much as possible a right blend between these two. Admitted, governments or political parties will go to the people of Ghana based on a manifesto, and they will commit to deliver, certain services, provide certain infrastructure. So indeed, as a civil servant, a person advising the minister in terms of policy, it is incumbent on me to reflect this commitment as contained in the party manifesto. But it is equally important that my advice is guided or informed by evidence and data. And for me, this is the area that we should be looking forward if we are trying to research and make the civil service more effective and a partner in the service delivery. And in many ministries, including Ministry of Education, we have management information systems. In education, we have the Education Management Information System that we regularly collect data, and then we rely on this data to enhance our policy and planning. However, in many of these management information systems, there are deficiencies, and that is an area that I think that we should work to improve. And indeed, the deficiency is not by deficiency in terms of design or the technicalities of it, but deficiency in terms of the scope. So I make reference to the Education Management Information System. The data is collected from the school level. However, when you are delivering education, skills training, it's not just about what happens at the school level. So if you want, for instance, to examine or to assess and know how many graduates from our CVIs who are able to create a job or find a job within 2 years after exiting school, our MAs will not be able to collect that data. So it calls on us to now begin to develop another streams or models of data collection and evidence gathering. And this is an area that I think that we should be working at. Beyond the data, we should look at other forms of evidence gathering to ensure that we meet the demands of the day. It is very important also to note the fact that, the people of this country, they are the beneficiaries of our service. They are the customers. I mean, we should begin to shift away from this mentality of, seeing them as, quote, burden or a sort of liability. I mean, within the new public management philosophy, they are our customers. We are actually in business because they are there to consume whatever service that we are rendering to them. And once we begin to change and then reflect some of these new concepts and the new dynamics in our work, I think that, one, we'll better place ourselves in a position that the politician, used advisedly, will appreciate the value and the contribution of the civil service and the civil servant, and then the people of this country will also appreciate the value of civil service. They will shift, or they will begin to see the civil servant as a valuable partner in national development, not a civil servant who leaves the office at 3 p.m. and probably stop in front of Registrar General to do some, shopping. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I am supposed to wind this thing up at 11:30 so that the audience can also participate. Yes, but I'm going to ask you to contribute a bit, the same point, but whilst you are thinking about it, I also want you to see how we can balance all of this with ethical safeguards. Ethical safeguards.
Oh, thank you very much. I have one or two points that I wanted to put on the table that would help us in terms of how we position to do more in the research agenda. So the first is basic, but it is very important. We all ought to deeply understand and internalize the research agenda in all its forms. So as a practitioner, as a deliverer of service, if you do not understand the services, you don't understand the agenda you are supporting, then it becomes very difficult to be able to deliver the service in quality and effective. So understanding and internalizing that is something that we need to think very carefully about. The other one is we have to see how we work to facilitate investment, because the whole agenda is truly private sector oriented, and the ultimate aim of the research agenda is to create a job. Today, we have over 1.7 million, youth between the age of 18 to 25, or even 35, could be expanding to more than 2 million that are in vulnerable employment, or they are not employed at all. And the average year of getting your first job after any training is more than 5 years. So the job crisis is very, very dear. And we have a GDP growth which is ballooning. It's moving from 87 billion to almost 130 billion dollars per year so far. Now we're hoping that by the end of this year, it's probably going to go to about 150 billion dollars. That is more than 1.5 trillion. As it's going up, the jobs are declining. So we are not creating the jobs as our GDP is growing. And I believe that about $3.5 billion was injected into Greater Accra economy last year, which is most of it going to real estate. And 80% of the actors in that economy are not Ghanaian. So we are not also able to create the jobs because we have lost over time, we have lost the critical skills that are needed in the various industries that will create the jobs. So even if we set up all the industries that we are thinking about, Dr. Elizabeth is here, in terms of human capital, if your human capital does not exist to drive the industries that you have set up, you necessarily have to import it from somewhere. So when we think about jobs, we also have to think about whether or not we have the capacity. So we have to work as a civil service to really identify some of these issues, to support it. And the way we can do it is either through building the human capital space or making the ease of doing business very easy and so on, so that the private capital can come in to stimulate these things that we are talking about. The other one is, by way of institution, is as civil service, we have to strengthen our coordination, the interministerial and interdepartmental coordination, and try and solve problems on the basis of lack of, description, tax teams. So if we are looking at certain policies, for example, to drive value chain development, and it concerns Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Information Technology, and so on. Why don't you find a tax team that can think about how to unravel the bottlenecks associated with that policy? So we have to do more in working across departments. And that's very, very important, and something that you need to think about. And then the other point is your ability to build strategic partnerships, because there's a certain myth around civil service. Not every citizen actually understands what you do, how you do it, and how efficiently you do it. In fact, I'm extremely honored to be working at this time, because the civil servants that I'm working with are so professional. They are so swift, and their understanding of bureaucracy is not really the bureaucracy that we know. And I mean it. They interpret bureaucracy as bad attitude. I'm telling you, to build to empower us to be able to work in civil service. And then you have, people like yourself, Dr. Kanai, who have spent tremendous amount of years in civil service, whose empowerment of some of us coming up is so germane in terms of how to inculcate things in us that can deliver things that we are looking at for the country. So the strategic partnership is important. A week like this, perhaps, will be an occasion where you invite the private sector, an Association of Ghana Industry, and so on, to come and walk you through some of your critical operations to understand why you do what you do. And they ask questions and be able to build that relations about how you can serve them better. I think it would be a very good point. And then the other point is simply that we have to, and I'm coming to the last point of, we have to have a mindset shift. It is not a shift from, this is my responsibility to a departmental responsibility to an institutional responsibility. That it is not just this department that is responsible for an issue, but it is really the whole institution, and that if the department fails, the institution fails. So you have to move from the silos mentality to looking at the grandiose mentality of the institution. And we have to, in the reset and where we are going with the 24-hour economy, there must be less of emphasis on office hours to an emphasis on service availability according to economic and citizen needs. So in the day of this digital era, you can provide services even when you are sleeping, and you get your IT systems to be able to deal with the issue. So we have to move more into services. And the last point, there are a lot more, but I would also leave it with you. But one point that I want to emphasize is you have to shift from the mentality as government as regulator, or ministry as regulator, policy regulator, to a ministry as facilitator and enabler of partnerships. Because at the end of the day, it is about the services that you are giving. And the value of the service is what drives the essence of what you are as a ministry. So when there's the shift in focus services, then you move away from just regulating and looking at what did not go wrong and then compliance issues to an enabler of what is right. These are some of the attitudes that I think when we adopt, it might help us to do more. We are living, and my last point is about ethics. For any investor to decide to invest in Ghana, or even indigenous Ghanaian investors to do, because there are more indigenous Ghanaian investors who are investing in other countries than Ghana, believe it or not. So if you go to Sierra Leone, you look at Mali, you look at Guinea, the number of investments that Ghanaians that have money are actually investing their vessels here is very surreal, because, and I had one of the UK trade minister, former trade minister, asked me, "Oh, you know, the 24 economy vision is powerful, and as an individual, I would like to invest. But before I invest, I want to ask you, how many Ghanaians?" And I had know about 5 of them. He mentioned the 5 names. Have they invested critically in this economy? And the answer was, you know, so really, this is the issue. For somebody to do that, they are thinking about the normal things. Are our laws working? Are the institutions that drive our economy, are they working seamlessly? Are the people that are owners of bearers of responsibilities and duties, are they doing it in the right way? Do we have selfless men and women of integrity who are the content of our citizenry? What is the Ghanaian like? You know, so we have to really look at core principles that really form our society. I've grown up knowing that the Ghanaian is one that you can trust. The Ghanaian is one that will tell you the truth. In my Ghan language, they say, "Anokwale ekometo," the truth is one. It speaks to integrity. The Ghanaian is one that has integrity. The Ghanaian is one that is highly patriotic. You know, even at the age of 70, when they play the national anthem, my late father would stand and start, you know, jumping like he was playing the Black Star at the time. And he would tell you, this is what we did to build the nation. So I learned patriotism. Now, we need to really embed all these things in our day-to-day administration, day-to-day work as civil servants. After all, you are really the vanguard of everything that is powerful, Ghana. When people see you, they see Ghana. So
Look,
we need to really get that.
I'm really, really nervous about interrupting your flow, but I mean, you are talking a lot of exciting stuff. I want to say a very big thank you. I also have a social contract to deliver this
Yes.
time. So that's give my panelists a warm round of applause. But before I open it up to the floor for just 2 or 3 inputs, Inisa talked about what we must do differently, our diagnostics and policy influencing must be evidence-based. Again, we must also make sure that we see our people differently as our customers in ways that both citizens and politicians will value our input. Again, Dr. Ishmael, you are speaking music to the Director General's ears. I mean, I could see her smiling, but I know, because that's what she's been talking about a whole lot. The issue of mindset shift. But we also talked about facilitating investment, making ourselves relevant to the private sector so that we deal with the job crisis and also the importance of strengthening coordination. You said something that still touches me. I know the civil service. I know civil servants. How do I present them to the world that these are solid, performing, ethical, performance-driven entities? How do we break the perception out there in the private sector, in civil society, and all of those things? That thing is something about it. Elizabeth, I'm going to ask you to say it in 1 minute, then I can move on. How in all of this, staff well-being and motivation can be integrated? In all that we are saying and we are demanding, how do we protect our own staff well-being and motivation?
So thank you very much, Tisa. Okay, so there are so many things that we are doing for staff. We know we still have, as the teacher will say, more room for improvement. But a quick one, I took some data, so again, I have to probably quickly go through that. So to start off, we have an occupational health and safety policy that I think we introduced it during the COVID time, so it's time for it to review. I know the Reform Coordinating Unit has started something like that. We have a social harassment policy as well. We continue to encourage continuous learning, and so we also support staff in terms of scholarships, and all that for long-term training. I can say that I am one of the beneficiaries of that. There are other staff probably here that have also benefited from that. So in terms of our psychosocial support, I'm proud to say that the Office of the Head of Civil Service has started something, as well as the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. We have holding places for children, or for babies and toddlers, if you like. So for our mothers, our staff who are at that category, to have a place for their children. We also have a counseling unit, that is seeking to. We understand that in resetting, in supporting the whole agenda and all. Doc here talked about we not concentrating on just working hours, 8 hours, and so some of us are really, really stressed. And so we admit that, and so we have a counseling unit that is actually supporting in that direction. We are proud to say that within a month we have an average of about 8 people visiting, to seek some support. We have a specialist handling that, and they do referrals as well. So these are about a few of the other things that we are doing to support in terms of the employee well-being. Thank you.
I had closed, but I see Inuse's hand, and in everything, everybody has their favorites. So please, Inuse.
Thank you.
Yeah. But keep it.
Yes, very brief. Aunt Esther, so our former head of service, Nana Jomna, once remarked that the certificate of the civil servant can sink a ship. I mean, that is significant. And it conveys that sense that the civil servant is as qualified academically as his or her counterpart working anywhere, whether within the jurisdiction or elsewhere. But what is significantly missing, the civil service, and that we should reflect as way of, commemoration or, projecting the civil service, is the work environment. Let's consider Accra. It appears it's only within the ministerial enclave that you can park anywhere. It appears it's only the ministerial enclave that you can hawk, you can do anything anywhere. And then when you enter into our offices, it's bad. And the most significant of this is that it's very disheartening. A civil servant journey from Dodowa to ministries just to sit down and go back and not do any work. And the only problem is that there's no paper, there's no toner. I think that these are the basic things that we can, work at to ensure that once we get to work, we are not just going to work so that at the end of the month we enjoy our salary. The workplace is an avenue for training and development. Indeed, my first director, PBMED, the blessed Mr. Danko, once told me that the workplace does a lot of teaching than the classroom. So if we're able to, sanitize and then, shape up the work environment, I think that we're motivated. And the Ghanaian or the citizen out there will see the civil servant differently, would not think that the civil servants are a branch of public sector workers who only wear nylon shirts to work, but they are decent and committed people who are to ensure that government policies are delivered.
Thank you. Mr. Dosu, I'm taking all your acknowledgement time. 30 seconds.
30 seconds. One of the things that is very critical is this. You cannot equate academic intelligence with experience. The civil servant, even entry level, when he or she enters the civil service, this is my observation. The working environment the core issues that he or she has to deal with, the different normative rules and principles that you learn. Within 1 month, or let's say within a year, the experience that you acquire in civil service, if you were to put value on that experience, compared with the experience one would acquire, say, in a factory shop where you are doing one line of work, is incomparable, because we're talking an astronomical, value to it. What we need to do is really quantify the true essence of the civil service, the value you bring to the market, which is a service that you provide to citizens and private sector and so on. And we have to find innovative way for those values to be actually paid for from the people that we provide the services to. And this is why I was emphasizing the need for strategic partnerships with the private sector. Because once you have that, it will be able to address some of those economic work environment issues that you do have. To the extent that if you have strong partnership that is driving the paper sector, and they are making money, they will make sure that in order for them to get the service that enables them to keep doing well, they will, if the bottleneck is to make sure everybody has paper to work with, they will provide for that. We just need to build that relationship and break the myth between what we know of civil service and what you have.
No, I have to show myself discipline. Give my panelists a warm round of applause. Okay. Mr. Dosu, let's negotiate the time. I don't want us to stand between the people and their cooking. What time is it? I mean, my watch seems to have stopped. Yeah. 11:45. Can we do this? Let's, I want to elicit just 3 submissions from the floor. Then I will ask my panelists to say one priority action they would like to see happen, and then we close. Is that okay? Right. Yeah, okay, number 1 is head of service himself. No, you people don't do that. Number 2 is chair, and number 3 is chief director. Okay, survivor. Number 1 is chair. Number 2 is head of service. Number 3, chief. Do I see your hand? Okay, right. Okay, good. And then I want a female. What's that? There's a female. Female, stand up and let me see you. Okay, come closer, because I've survived many world wars, so I can't see as well as I used to. Yes, please. In fact, come and sit behind the Director General NDPC and imbibe her blessing. Yeah, sit behind it. Great. Chairman, sir, please proceed.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether I should face the panel or face the audience. Chair,
whatever makes you comfortable.
Can you give me
whatever
direction?
Makes you comfortable.
Anyway.
But the way you are approaching the podium, don't keep long.
No.
My chairman, but don't.
How many minutes do you give me? 5 minutes, eh? Well, you know that a teacher will always be a teacher. So if you don't give me enough time, I'll not be able to deliver. But first of all, before making my observations, I want to say it's observation rather than question. I'd like, first of all, congratulate our head of service for organizing such an excellent civil service week. I've not attended many of them, but I can see the few that I've attended, I can see that this is a step forward in the direction of resetting. So I was very impressed yesterday by the team that you brought up here for the lecture. Very, very educative, with a lot of experiences. And I reflected over it last night. And I was consoled by the fact that he says one of the solutions is to repent. And I know the good Bible says that God forgives people who repent so many times. a day. So I believe that if we are sincere, we would be forgiven. Repentance also means sincerity in your mind that you are going to change. To go back to the main theme and the contributions for the brilliant and competent colleagues and friends and the civil service, the two directors, and my friend, 24-hour economy. As a council member, when we assumed, we took a tour, familiarization tour of all the ministries, except one that we have not been able to. And one of the things we wanted to know was how they are getting themselves involved in the resetting agenda. In fact, a lot was said about how all the ministries are doing things in new ways, in different ways, and all that. I was thinking and planning that after all that, the service, head of service with the management team can package these specific areas, ministry by ministry, but reflecting the overall service strategy to implement His Excellency's agenda. What she has mentioned are many of the things they said and did. But I would have liked it to be placed in the context of transformation. When you say you are transforming an organization or an institution, you are talking of a deliberate, intentional process of bringing about change to deliver services using different methods, techniques to achieve better results than before. And this would involve, first, the organizational or institutional vision and strategy. Of course, he has mentioned the plan for that. It will also involve the structure of the organization. It's because through the structure that you can deliver whatever you are expected to deliver. Apart from that, the systems, processes, and procedures that you use to deliver respond to the areas expected of you as outlined in your mandate, your enabling act. Apart from that, you also need to deliberately transform the people, the culture. Very, very important. So I would have liked the service to package specifically, looking at these core areas. You cannot transform without touching on these 4 core areas: strategy, vision, structure, the systems, procedures, processes, and the people and culture. The organizational culture is important. Are we doing something different? What she has outlined, yes, since I joined the civil service and, of course, exited and joined the public service. I joined the civil service in 1981, okay? Some of you were not there at that time. They are the ideals that we are talking about, you know. But when you want to demonstrate change, strategic change, then you have to be very precise and be clear that this is what you are doing in terms of your strategy, your vision now. Is it aligned with the programs, the agenda of the government? The structures that you have been operating in, are they in terms of alignment, in terms of their functional areas? And then what? The people who are working there. Do they still have do you have the human resource capacity? And what consciously are you doing now different from what the previous, before resetting? Can we package that well So that if I, as an outsider, who has very biased views about the civil servants. In fact, when they say civil servants, they are referring to all the public services because that's what their feeling is. So that I can come and say, look, this is our strategy now, looking at the resetting agenda. And this strategy will take us to where the desired destination. Do we have that? Can we clearly articulate that? Because if I go to a civil service, I've been going there. I have an office there that I visit occasionally. And I see the vision. Vision may be long-lasting, but vision can be looked at and strategies, new strategies to come and reinforce, vibrate the vision. I don't see that, even though you mentioned beautiful things, innovations you are doing. So my suggestion is that, and that goes to director who has brought herself here, and of course, head of service, and colleague, chief directors, you are champions of that. And I think somebody mentioned here that if the chief, you are, in fact, transformation is led by leaders. And leaders' responsibility is to let the followers buy in. And it's not just enough for leaders to meet here and say, yes, we are doing this and this. If I go to ask the cleaner, what are you doing in terms of resetting as your contribution towards the achievement of the president's agenda? You might just say, I've been cleaning. Was that enough? I don't want to refer back to my experience in Gimpa when we transformed Gimpa 2000 to what it is today. Leadership. Professor Dai will walk in the morning, very early, 6 o'clock. Yes, give me 1 more minute. Injury time. Okay. Okay. And if he sees a messenger not early, coming late, you say, oh, are you one of us? If he goes to the washroom during break and sees that the place is not wiped up properly, I say, do you know that we are now in a new Gimpa? The culture changed significantly. So please, I would like to also request that you involve everybody, every staff in the ministries and departments in this. Otherwise, it becomes a slogan. We have had some before. This one, I believe that we can succeed. Repent and do things better.
Give Chairman a warm round of applause. Yes, head of service, and then my chief director, and then the lady here. But please, I crave your indulgence to negotiate a change in my social contract. Can we close around 12:15? Yeah. Is that okay with everybody? Is that okay? Is that okay? I don't want to be abandoned. Thank you. Yeah. Head, please. Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
let me pay tribute to our panelists and your good self for doing justice to the issues that we put to them. If you have not been there before, you won't appreciate what it is that is to be a panelist. Sometimes, momentarily, even the fella you have can desert you. You understand? If a question is posed and is out of your comfort zone, the anointing can desert you. And you can lose your followers. So I want to congratulate them and commend them most sincerely. It means we have men and women capable. So your level of temperament, being able to think on your feet, having the presence of mind to be able to deal with these matters, it's a mark of leaders. And of course, you can have, if you have an insipid moderator, that can also undermine the quality of presentation. So, moderator, we are grateful for the freshness, the finesse, with which you have moderated the discussions. I think it's worthy of commendation. Chairman, and of course the various contributions. Chairman's contribution, very interesting. perspectives that he has brought to bear. With the 24-hour, let's quickly, we right from the word go, for every single ministry has a focal person to interface with the 24-hour secretariat. So the ministries are not, on their own. They have somebody who serves an effective liaison between the ministry and the 24-hour economy, and they have been consistently trained by us, by the 24-hour secretariat. And for everything that we do, those people are involved. And the chief directors have had some serious interactions, and there has been a number of occasions where various workshops, we have actually invited the 24-hour economy secretariat to feature. It's a reason we're able to identify that this doctor will have the presence of mind to be able to deliver. And also, the visit to the various institutions, the visitations, provided us with some lessons for even the choice of the team. I mean, that gives us a much more nuanced opportunity to now deal with the issues in a manner that will sink. Because the team itself is predicated on the risk setting. And if you listed the discussions that we have had, they have had to sort to unpack the theme. To first and foremost, let us appreciate what is it that the whole reset agenda means, and what is it that the civil servant's responsibility will be. It's also because of the visitations we were actually informed by some of the gaps that existed, and that fed into the selection of the theme, which for me was very critical, because at the level that we are operating, it means all of us will be operating from the same wavelength, we'll be singing from the same hymn sheet, and what we are doing here, this group here, is just symbolic. Everything is being streamed live to several other actors, even outside the civil service, because as Doc, you indicated, the partnership is important. And how do you have a partner who doesn't understand the way you function? Then the partnership is actually started on a very wrong footing, ab initio. So that is something that we've done. If you look at the civil services institutions, advisory boards, all the advisory boards have other representation. The institutions that you have most dealing with feature, on these institutions. And the private sector features prominently on the institutions' advisory boards. And we are thinking that at that level, their advice will feed into what is it that the ministry will do. Then ultimately will impact on the overall development of the state. Of course, at the level of OACS, but there was one of the celebrations. The team was simply on the synergy. In fact, we said that the synergy between the civil service and the private sector, a development imperative. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing, but that is how we couched it. And the intention was to look at some of the bottlenecks that exist and how can we reconfigure this relationship in a manner that will enhance development. Even the dialogue that we have in here, you realize that the dialogue, we invited all kinds of actors, including the private sector. The public, lecture that we had, we invited others. It's also a strategy to also reconfigure the relationship between academia and practice. So the devil, they say, is in the detail, and that is where you see those things featuring in those presentations, just so that we can get a sense of what is it that we can harvest, because we know that if you really want to develop, you have to harvest ideas from wherever you can get them, so we can build a much more resilient system. With the strategies and trust and so on, I know that if we don't deliver, we'll lose our relevance. But Chair, you related to what strategies exist and what are the plans, etc. Every single civil service institution has a medium-term development plan, which plan has been certified and certificated by the National Development Planning Commission. So if there's an institution that doesn't have a plan, and we are tying even the plan to the budget, and for the technical hearings of the budget at the Ministry of Finance, one of the foremost questions that we pose is whether you have a plan at all. Because, if you don't have a plan, then we are going to literally give money to some demon who can utilize the money, regardless of what the issues are. And so that plan forms the basis and that is why at the technical hearings at the Ministry of Finance, the National Development Planning Commission is embedded in the teams. Every single theme that is there, the National Development Planning Commission is there, so that they can ask the relevant questions and then even certify that indeed this ministry has produced a plan, is being certificated, and at what stage that plan is. And every plan worth its salt must contain all the ingredients that Chairman you related to, including the strategies and all of that, the strategic objectives and all of those things are part of the plans that we normally would do, and that form the basis for which the budget is delivered. So these are important issues, and what we are seeking to do with the support of the council chair, the council, etc., is also to galvanize our people around what it is that governments want to do. And these engagements as a wake-up, and also touching base with our own constituents and say that, look, these are our mandates, these are our responsibilities. Can we live up to them in a manner that will make us better citizens, and then also be able to interface with our public and serve the citizens? The overarching objective that I'm seeking is that, look, we are treating this country as a corporate entity, and ownership is vested in all of us. And I think that way, trust me, we will leave this country in a better shape than we have inherited. Is that not the case? That is what it is that we are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Indeed, ownership is vested in all of us. Chief Director, I think employment. Am I right?
Yes.
Jobs, employment. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me also add my voice to congratulate all the panelists. I think they have done fantastic job. My question is, I expected them to dwell on the obstacles and challenges of the resetting agenda. Mr. Inua actually talked about that, and I was happy. For instance, resetting agenda requires coordination across government. From my ministry, creating jobs would require cooperation between trade, labor, agri, finance, and others. But ministries seem to be working in silos. And so programs are likely to remain fragmented, contradictory, and then, so that is where we are now. We sometimes write letters to other ministries requesting for information, and we get no response, which means that they are all operating in silos, and that is not helping matters. It will not help the agenda setting to achieve its purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my dear Chief Director. What you have said, only you can say it. We see it and we are afraid. We are afraid to say it. So I'm delighted, and that's what head of service, I was telling you that you can even constitute a fellow of just your chief directors, and what you will learn will be stupendous, if you like. Thank you very much, sir. That we need to be able to move away from that silo mentality in word, thought, and deed. We need to do that. Thank you. Madam, please come and rescue this my gender insensitive process.
Good afternoon.
But please introduce yourself.
I am Millicent Mensah from the Office of the Head of Civil Service. Good afternoon, Head of Service. Good afternoon, Chief Directors, Directors, and my colleagues. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, I'm glad with the setting of the agenda. So I think since this has been the topic or the agenda for the government for the current year that we are in, I will ask my leaders to also look at the salary of the workers for us, especially we at the lower level. Normally, when you give birth to a child, we give the child the good nutrition to grow well. But when at the lower level and our salaries are low, you go to the bank to ask for mortgage, you don't get mortgage. You wait unless you get to a director level or chief director before the salary is heavy for you to get mortgage to build. By the time you build, you are old, in age, you can't enjoy it much. So we'll plead with you to look at our salaries since we are setting the agenda. Set that area also well for us so that we'll also enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very critical things said. That being able to ensure that even at the infancy or at the lower levels, you can get security in certain ways, including mortgages and so on and so forth. Happily, at the end of your role was Chief Director, Ministry of Finance. So even though he's retiring, moving right along, I think we have in the house a very important person in the person of Dr. Bampoe Addo. Sir, you are most welcome. And,
Thank you.
I want to give you an opportunity. I know everybody, you know him, don't you? Pardon? Right, yes.
Bello. I have a small comment on this resetting that we're talking about. It's very important to us, and I think it's an issue that all of us should be interested in. My sister who just spoke said a little bit about it, but more important, this apartheid system of payroll administration that we are running is only in the civil service. Why should I be a director in the civil service at employment, and then the director at Ministry of Finance is earning about 3 times my salary? Is it correct? Should it not be an issue for resetting? Mr. Nimo is here. This should be the biggest agenda to be reset. So please, this is a fight that all of us should look at it. Thank you.
I think Mr. Numo is saying, nearer my God to thee, nearer my God to thee. Right. On that note, I just want to bring this meeting, this wonderful dialogue to close. The issues that have been said have sunk home, I hope. Nothing has been taken from it. And the need to secure the well-being of our staff, even as we reset, even as we innovate, even as we change. We must give our people the incentive and the motivation to carry it along. I think it was the head of service who said something to the effect that we must have that ownership. We all carry that ownership, and we must have that work together. We have a vested interest in carrying this forward. So I promised you that I would ask my panelists to give us one last thing. If you had a single priority for it, what would that be? And keep it under 1 minute. A single priority. And why do you give it to Elizabeth? Okay, Nusa. Nusa, you can start. Yes, single priority.
Thank you. But I share the comments of my sister and Mr. Bampoe on resetting the remuneration. Anyway, so single priority, and I'll come under my favorite framework, the COSO framework. This is, as an accountant, this is the framework that internal controls or internal auditors often seek guidance from. And the third variable in it is the control environment, our working environment. For me, that is the most single essential thing that we should work at in resetting. We are addressed the way we dress. Once we leave the work environment as if it is not the center of government business, then the recognition and the value we expect from Ghanaians will not see. So head of service and then council members, my plea, we should work on the ministerial environment, our workplaces. And over time, it keeps me wondering, who is in charge of
Don't wonder, you are finished. Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you very much, Auntie Esther.
Yes. Yes, Elizabeth.
All right,
your
so-
single priority.
Yes, I'll just briefly talk about, the ethical culture. So, as civil service staff, supporting the resetting agenda, we are promising that per our core values that we have in the service, we are promising that, we'll be professional in what we do. Bear in mind that we are accountable. We have to be compliant with all the laws that we have, making sure that in getting to the implementation of the resetting agenda, we are doing all that we have to do. We are also mindful of the fact that all the services that we provide, it is to the person walking along the street, the taxpayer, and so we will be citizen-centered in all that we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well done. Yes, Doc, your priority, just single priority.
My single most priority here, I believe that can sum up what I wanted to put across. And in fact, we have collectively talked about is really working across institutional boundaries. We need to break the silos mentality, and we must work towards establishing mechanisms that ensures ministry department agencies can sit on a table and identify challenges that they need to address, identify the bottlenecks, identify the policy regime that they need to structure, and also identify key areas of improvement to continuously allow the civil service services that you provide become more meaningful to the clients, and the clients being the citizens, the private sector, and everybody else in between. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, let this dialogue serve as a rallying point for action. The civil service is not merely an administrative machinery, it is the engine of Ghana's sustainable development, the center of business of development. So by advancing our human capital, our institutional excellence, digital innovation, upholding governance and accountability, partnerships, and client-centeredness, we can reset the national agenda and deliver lasting transformation for all citizens. I thank you for your attention, your cooperation, and participation. And God bless our homeland, Ghana, and God bless us all. Thank you.